You couldn't find a better place to celebrate 100 years of college basketball than Hamline University, where it all started. In Science Hall on February 9, 1895, the first men's intercollegiate game was played. Hamline graduate Ray Kane, a member of Naismith's original team, organized this historic event. And the tradition continued. 50 years later, Hamline teams under legendary coach Joe Hutton saw NAIA tournament play 12 times and won the championship 3 times. 7 Hutton men went on to play pro ball, including Raleigh Seltz, Howie Schultz, John Norlander, Vern Mickelson, Joe Hutton Jr., Hal Haskins, and Jim Fritchie. On behalf of all Hamline basketball greats, past, present, and future, we invite you to enjoy this Hall of Fame review of the legends of college basketball.
If Dr. James Naismith were to see his sport today played by more than 18 million people in backyards, playgrounds, and the world's greatest sporting arenas, he undoubtedly would have smiled with pride at the game he simply called basketball. The little man ruled the early years of college basketball, for it was a different game then. The primary offensive weapons were dashing guards and 5-foot 8-inch shooters who would fire away with their two-handed set shots. There was also the weave. Teams would pass it around until one player finally broke free toward the basket. One of the greatest small men in the history of the game was Purdue guard Johnny Wooden. A 3-time All-American in the early 1930s, he was a master dribbler and playmaker. Under the guidance of head coach Ward Piggy Lambert, the tough, aggressive Wooden bounced off the floor so often that people called him the Indiana Rubber Man. In 1936, Hank Lucetti of Stanford shocked basketball fans across the country with the introduction of his running one-handed shot. Many coaches called his unorthodox style of shooting freakish and fundamentally unsanitation as a ferocious shot blocker. Bill Russell raised his game to an efficient science where psychology and reputation counted almost as much as his exceptional ability. When you talk about pure shooters, you talk about Purdue's Rick Mount. He was a legend while still in high school in Lebanon, Indiana, earning the state's Mr. Basketball title. At Purdue, he became one of the greatest shooters college fans had ever seen. In the winter of 1964, the whole country was talking about Lou Alcindor, a 7-foot-tall New York schoolboy. Alcindor, now known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, turned down more than 100 college scholarship offers, settling on UCLA. Beginning in 1966, with Alcindor in the middle, the Bruins won 88 games and lost only 2. He was simply unstoppable. Defenses tried everything to slow him down. Rules were even changed to outlaw the dunk, but Alcindor just continued to excel, earning 2 Player of the Year honors. When the curtain finally closed on the Alcindor era, UCLA had become the first school in history to collect 3 consecutive national championships. At the center of it all was one of the greatest players the game had ever seen, Lou Alcindor. For 3 years, Bill Bradley made Princeton one of the top college teams in America, rare for an Ivy League squad. A Rhodes Scholar, Bradley was brilliant both on and off the court. In 1965, Bradley carried the underdog Tigers to the Final Four. Although Princeton ran out of miracles, Bill Bradley was named tournament MVP as he scored 58 points in the consolation game against Wichita State. At 6 feet 11 inches, an extremely mobile Bill Walton was everything UCLA coach John Wooden expected in a big man. With teammates Keith Wilkes, Greg Lee, Larry Farmer, and Henry Bibby, the Walton gang was invincible, going 2.5 years and 88 consecutive games without losing. In the 1973 NCAA final against Memphis State, Bill Walton played the greatest offensive game in Final Four history, scoring 44 points and hitting on 21 of 22 field goal attempts. Bill Walton capped his brilliant career at UCLA by winning 3 consecutive Player of the Year honors. With a 42-inch vertical leap, North Carolina State's David Thompson took the game of basketball to new levels. In 1974, Thompson averaged almost 30 points a game as he led the Wolfpack attack to a national championship. Aside from his incredible leaping ability, Thompson also had a soft touch from the outside. When heralded Larry Bird first came to Indiana State in 1978, the skeptics claimed he couldn't run, jump, or succeed against quality competition. The skeptics were wrong. Bird finished his career as the 9th leading scorer in college basketball history, averaging over 30 points per game. At times it seemed Larry Bird was simply unstoppable. College basketball took a quantum leap forward with the emergence of Michigan State's Earvin Magic Johnson in 1979. Never before had the game seen a 6-foot 9-inch guard who could control a game quite like Magic. He had the quickness of a guard, the grace of a forward, and the power of a center. Magic led the Spartans to the national championship in '79 with a victory over Larry Bird and Indiana State.
There's a steal by Doherty. Here comes Michael Jordan. Matt Doherty passes to Jordan. I guess that is a pretty fitting end to the ballgame. Jordan, look at that! Kenny Smith looking for Jordan. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
In 1949, John Wooden accepted the head coaching position at UCLA and set about the task of turning Westwood into a winner. Despite some early successes, Wooden did not immediately bring national prominence to UCLA. In fact, it took 13 seasons before the Bruins made their first trip to the Final Four. Over the next 12 years, his teams won an incredible 10 national championships. And over those years, he coached some of college basketball's greatest players.
As great as your career was, do you ever reflect and say, you know, I could have been better, I could have been even better?
No, there's no question. You never reach your full potential, but you certainly can make the effort to reach your full potential. And you know there's no such thing as an overachiever. I often hear coaches say he overachieved. No one ever did more than they're capable of doing. We're all underachievers to different degrees. We're not perfect, we're all imperfect.
Nearly 20 years after his retirement, they still call him coach, a tribute to a man who was much more than a coach. He still refers to himself as a teacher. He's a father, a philosopher, a friend. He was and is a man of high ideals. Coach Wooden's famed pyramid defines success as having peace of mind and the self-satisfaction that you've done the best you can do. And to this day, John Wooden continues to live by those ideals.
I'm not what I ought to be. I'm not what I want to be. I'm not what I'm going to be. But I am thankful I'm better than I used to be.